I'm Addie Banks, and I'm asking, what do we know and what do we assume about biracial offspring? Would you encourage your child to seek partnership within the tribe or to feel comfortable venturing out? If they love another and gift you with biracial grants, what warnings and encouragements should you offer? Love covers all? Perhaps. See what you want to see? Perhaps. Belonging is a foundational human need, and there are generally some normal and natural rules taught by history, nature, nurture, and tested survival strategies. But I watched a delightful video that opened my eyes to some interesting realities. Amala's YouTube video titled, I Love This, Mixed Race Kids versus Their Parents and her Reactions. Created by Cut, she shared a truth or drink interaction that was fun to watch. Parents and offspring represented various ethnicities, but they genuinely cared for each other. Watch these clips, introducing participants and topics. Later, watch the entire video for maximum enjoyment. Here, I simply wanted to do a glimpse without spoiler alerts.
All right, guys, so the biracial bat signal went out because Cut put out a video where they brought together mixed kids and their parents to play a game of truth or drink. And as a biracial individual myself, I figured this is a good video to react to. So let's get into it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
As you know, I am biracial. I'm half white, half black. That comes, I guess, with its own territory, somewhat of a culture and stereotypes and all these different things. And these are discussions we're gonna have as we get into today's video from Cut, titled, Does My Dad Only Date Black Women, Truth or Drink? So let's just get straight into it.
African American and Caucasian.
I am black and white.
My dad is Indian and my mom is black.
My mother is white, mixed European descent, and my father is Filipino, Asian descent.
Do we want to start?
My dad is Nigerian and my mother is mixed European. She got a whole ton of different regions going on over there.
What are some mixed kid stereotypes? Like mixed kids almost feel like they're better than everybody.
Sometimes we can be looked at as soft.
Okay, so they say better than everybody and soft. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I don't know that I have heard those two stereotypes. The ones that I hear most often are, specifically with the races of my background, is too white for the black kids and too black for the white kids. And I don't know.
Is too black for the white.
There, you've
Just
already
that,
got it.
Identity crisis.
Right.
That we're whitewashed, but you're not even white, so that
That's a
doesn't
good
even
one.
really apples.
Yeah, and she's right when she says you get accused of being whitewashed a lot. I can't tell you how many times I've been told that I act white, but you know, I'm half of my family is white, so I guess to some extent that's true. Although I don't know what acting white means, and y'all know I have problems with people who say that and the reasons behind why they say that, but I've definitely been accused of being whitewashed and acting white.
Do you feel comfortable saying the N-word? Why or why not?
I do.
I do feel comfortable saying the N-word because I'm black. You know, I don't identify as half white or mixed race or biracial. I've just always identified as black. Even still, it's not something that I say very flippantly.
Interesting. So I wonder if she said, I am mixed race, I am biracial, could you then be able to say the N-word, or does that sort of dilute your power when it comes to being able to utilize that word? I definitely use the N-word when I'm listening to music, and I listen to a lot of hip hop, I listen to a lot of rap music. I would never use it in regular conversation and never use it to refer to somebody, even on like the friendly basis that people use that word. It doesn't feel particularly comfortable. It doesn't feel particularly necessary. But y'all know that I never get overly sensitive about the use of the N-word, and there's so many different ways in which it's used today that I think for the most part are fine. I've not really in my life, or all that often in my life, heard somebody use the N-word, hard R, in a derogatory manner.
With you on that.
Okay,
I think that if you are black, you are allowed to say it.
Okay,
But
whatever.
that's where we.
A lot of people feel that way.
Does it ever bother you when I embrace my other race and culture more than yours?
No.
Interesting question. Would you get upset if I embraced one culture more than the other? And this is something that I grappled with more in youth than I do now, because there was always this idea that if you are black in any way, shape, or form to any degree, a lot of people just identify with that blackness, even though they may be biracial, even though they may be quarter black. A lot of people just say, oh, I'm black. Like that young woman just said. She said, I identify more with, my blackness. And that's really always been the case for her. But I recognized later on in life that, I guess there can be things that you identify with more in regard to your race and your culture. But the reality is that you're mixed race. The reality is that your biological makeup is of two different races, or two or more races, depending on who you are. And you can portray yourself as something, or say that you are black, but in reality, you are a mix of the parents that created you.
I think it does, because you always will say like, when I'm like, oh, I'm black, you're like, no, you're black and Indian. Like, you're very much like.
Yeah, so to be honest, yeah, it does bother me, but not in a way that you think it bothers me, because I accept it. But I wish you would embrace the other side.
Father. But no, what he said there was really valid. And you have to think about that, I think, when you're a kid who's sort of writing off one side of your race. Not to accuse her of doing that, because I don't know the inner dynamics of their relationship. But that's an entire parent with an entire background and ancestry and culture that they would have hoped, I think, to bestow upon you. And because you're half black, to simply write off the other half of yourself, or whatever iteration in which you are doing that and writing off the other race, it's not the nicest thing to do to the parent who's presumably taken care of you and played an equal and opposite part in your life and in your upbringing. So it is something to think about, to just deny that half of yourself, or that third of yourself, or fourth, in attempt to identify as something or portray yourself as a certain thing, when in reality, what you are is a mixed race person. I can't help but to continue going back to that point, because we're sort of feeding people this idea that they can just create their own identity, regardless of what the facts are, when there are real facts.
What's one question you have about my ethnicity that you've been afraid to ask?
One time when you were really little, you said something about hating the color of your skin, and you're actually trying to take your skin off. Do you feel better about that now?
Well, now I do. I think like growing up, I had a lot of like internalized inferiority. I wanted to be white. I dyed my hair red. I bought like green and blue contacts. I did hate the color of my skin.
Definitely have had a fear of, and I hope this is okay to say, I've had fears that you would be targeted by law enforcement, or, even just targeted, period. Not even by law enforcement, just by anybody wanting to mess with you. So,
Definitely one of my fears as well.
yours as well? You've had a fear? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Coming to a couple of close situations like that,
It was hard trying to figure out where I fit, and it would be kind of jarring to meet black kids who would be like, oh, you're not black. Or the first time I went to visit my family in Ohio, the black side of my family, they're like, oh, you act white. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Like, I'm just me,
definitely recall that at my school, black kids sort of congregated together and white kids sort of congregated together. And of course, there was a little bit of mixing here and there. And as you get older, that becomes, more prevalent and all that. But I would have a group of black friends that I would hang out with. And then I had a group of white friends that I would hang out with. And there would be some mixing, but not too much. And there was just that split that existed. And interestingly enough, by both sides of the spectrum, I was referred to as like Oreo, 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 because, you have your white parent and your black parent. But I don't really think that brought about any crisis within me.
Mixed kid stereotypes and belonging issues taken for granted by in-group members. Who am I issues that they had to process throughout childhood. Misconceptions as others try to figure them out. Identity crisis. Whitewashed, meaning acting white when being told you are not really white. Oreo. Black friends and white friends calling her Oreo. Is there a one-drop rule for admission to N-word speak? I'm pretty sure foundational Black Americans have something to say about this. Are there entitlements that by pulling on your Blackness, biracials can claim? Be they recipients for set-asides, support of the larger Black community, or identification claims when running for public office? I found it wholesome that some are confident enough to embrace their full selves, cultures, ethnicities, rather than practice the hurtful act of rejecting one parent's identity group. Another good point, you cannot invent your own ethnic identity. Rather than turning a blind eye to biracial issues, coming to face with the obvious stressors is so important to talk about. Learning self-acceptance. This is not a biracial issue. It is a human issue. And this video offers some advice on helping all of us get there. Now watch the last question asked in this session.
Tell me about a time when you've felt most loved by me.
A time when you felt most loved by me.
I think when you do things with me, when we actually are spending time together and we
Like this.
Yeah, I guess like this.
And to put himself out of his comfort zone a little bit, so he wants her to know that this is the thing that I'm doing with you right now. That is so lovely. Oh my gosh, I love this video.
Ma, can you tell me about a time when you felt most loved by me?
What this video revealed to me is that biracial families can live emotionally healthy lives, producing offspring that are genuinely well-balanced, finding their way within a world of inclusion and exclusion rules. But are there challenges? Yes, indeed. Extra challenges that some biracial offspring do not overcome. And of course, not all parents are as well adjusted as these. Does love overcome all things? No. But it goes a long way in encouraging children to seek happy and productive lives. What do you think?